You may regard the disasters depicted in the movie 2012 as an exaggeration. However, in recent years, we have been facing unprecedented challenges. What can we do to fight against climate change, to relieve the energy crisis, to improve eco-environment, and to promote the sustainable development of human society? The whole world is looking for solutions. On December 7, 2009, 192 participating countries discussed issues relating to the energy saving and emission reduction. China is also searching for solutions. A sustainable and green industry was established in the desert by way of controlling desertification, promoting green electricity and a negative carbon economy, thus enriching the local people. Our land has been encroached by the desert and our life affected by sandstorm. Since 1950s, Chinese government has paid great attention to desertification prevention and control. Campaigns have been launched on a large scale, in which numerous outstanding individuals have contributed a lot. Now, the desertification control project has achieved significant results thanks to the considerable input of the government and the unremitting efforts of many generations. In the late 1990s, the deserts expanded by 343,600 hectares per year, while they decreased by 171,700 hectares per year now. However, the gains outweighed input. Due to the lack of timely tending, many trees died though planted each year, which greatly discouraged the local people and created barriers on the way of desertification control. In order to transform this unsustainable pattern, Chinese government began to encourage enterprises to participate in the sand control project, which is guided by the government, run by enterprises, and driven by profits. A typical case is Maosu Biomass Thermal Power Company in Inner Mongolia. In 2003, Li Jinglu, CEO of a biomass thermal power company in Maosu Desert, came to this northern border area with a dream of harnessing desertification. Learning from the lessons of his predecessors, he took scientific measures to cultivate plants suitable in the water-containing desert. He led a group of people to grow plants at a density of less than 25%, so that these plants would not consume too much water quickly and would not die due to water shortage. From 2004 to 2007, 24,000 hectares of Maosu Desert were covered by trees. Although this is good news, it cost almost 80 million RMB yuan for the plantation within these 3 years. In order to keep them alive, people need to cut shrubs of the trees every 3 or 5 years. If not, the trees will die soon. Therefore, another 180 million RMB yuan needs to be spent on tending. Based on the above figures, a plantation project covering China's entire 40 million hectares of water-containing deserts will cost 433.3 billion RMB yuan. Mere input without output will not sustain the desertification control. How can we make profits in the campaign against desertification? The shrubs cut off the sand willow are no more than 6 centimeters in diameter, and therefore cannot be used in making wooden boards. But since they generate a large amount of heat, they can be used directly as fuels in the power station. Moreover, people can extract cellulose ethanol from these branches, whose residue can also be used as fuels. On a land of 13,000 hectares, every year such kind of branches amount to 300,000 tons, which is adequate for a power plant with an installed capacity of 30,000 kilowatts to generate electricity all year round. Besides waste utilization, a biomass power plant boasts many other advantages. The discharged ashes can be collected as fertilizers. Wastewater can provide large amounts of thermal energy and are used in irrigation after being cooled off. It is indeed an environmental friendly project for energy saving and emission reduction. On April 12, 2007, the biomass thermal power plant at the Maosu Desert in the Mongolia Autonomous Region laid foundation. On November 15, 2008, the Maosu biomass thermal power plant was officially connected to the grid, with an installed capacity of 30,000 kilowatts. The power plant generated a total of 115.75 million kilowatt hours of electricity in 2009. During the process, 150,000 tons of straps were consumed as raw materials, and a reduction of 125,000 tons of emission was realized. The proportion of sulfur dioxide in the exhaust fumes was only 1/40 that of the national standard for thermal power plants in China. That of nitrous oxide was 1/18 of the national standard. The thermal power plant has brought a lot of benefits to the local herdsmen. We could get 3 RMB yuan as subsidy for managing every moo of deserted lands. Altogether, I obtained more than 200,000 RMB yuan. There are over 170 households like that of Randalay from 2009 to 2011. More than 4,000 local laborers have been hired every year to engage in a series of relevant farm work like planting bushes, cutting the shrubs, collecting, chopping, processing, as well as transporting the remains. A total of 120 million RMB yuan was paid, and each farmer got around 10,000 RMB yuan annually. The building of the power plant enriched the local people. However, the high cost of fuel collection and unsound purchasing mechanism directly resulted in the high cost of electricity generation and the shortage of fuels. For example, with the cost of each ton of fuel as high as 500 RMB yuan and merely 80,000 tons purchased each year, the fuels could only meet 1/3 of the capacity of the power plant, which finally caused it to run at a deficit of 40 million RMB yuan each year, even after receiving the subsidies from the nation. Originally, Li Jinglu tended to secure a certain amount of flowing capital to grow plants by setting up this power plant. However, this did not seem to work. He had no choice but to find a new way out. Li Jinglu happened to know that spirulina could be cultivated by carbon dioxide, which is discharged at a large amount by the power plant each year, but is expensive to be solidified. Hence, he came up with an idea that if carbon dioxide could be directly used in the cultivation pool of the spirulina, he would succeed. With this in mind, Li began to conduct serious experiments. Through trials and errors, he managed to invent a processing system to make use of the biomass gas at a high temperature and received a patent for this innovation. In 2011, a manufacturing line with an annual capacity of breeding and milling 600 tons of spirulina was installed. The finished products of spirulina powder will be on the market in June 2012, with the prospect of 300 tons output per year, which is valued at 300 million RMB yuan and a net profit of 60 million RMB yuan. This will become our first pot of gold from this virgin field. Profits will certainly help to sustain the investment in controlling desertification. The grain industry in the desert which involves afforesting the desert by planting trees and fighting against desertification, building power plants by utilizing waste materials, and cultivating spirulina with carbon dioxide, has successfully solved many problems. It promotes sustainable development and helps control desertification, make use of new energy, and establish negative carbon economy while enriching the people. We are in full conviction that the nightmare presented in the movie 2012 would never come true if we follow this development pattern. Through our joint efforts, it will not take long to realize the sustainable development of human society so as to save the ecological environment that we rely on for existence.